couldn't be happier to be back, and welcome to Financial Literacy 101, class number 3. You are enrolled, and so I am glad to be here with you today. Professor Brooks, Professor B, Thurman, whatever it is that you want to call me. So, seriously though, our goals for this week are the following. We're going to set our financial goal for the week. Our goal for the class for this week. We're going to set financial goals for the week, dispel the habit myth, review assignments from last week, learn to just say no, review the emergency fund plan, the financial impact of it, and then answer some of the questions and comments, share some of the comments and feedback that you've shared with me. So let's get started. I will share with you my goal for this upcoming week is to track 90% of all of my expenses, even the chips that I get at the gas station. I've taken a pass on the jelly beans at Walgreens, at least for now. I know they're going to come back in, but just make sure that I'm being mindful, and I'm actually writing down in my little journal here what it is that I spend this week. So you can also see that I have been doing it. Now, I'd like to dispel this myth about habits, right? So my understanding and just kind of growing up and what I had been told, never actually did any research on it, that it takes someplace between 21 to 28 days for a new behavior to become a habit. Well, I did a little research, and what I have found is that is not necessarily the case. We started on this financial literacy life journey January the 24th, and so if you're with me, this is our third class, and we've been doing it for exactly 14 days. Not necessarily enough time to make a habit, or is it? It really just depends on you. So when I have started something new in the past, it's gone like this for me. Fired up on week one. I mean, I'm doing it all. I'm reading it all. I'm telling everybody that I come in contact with about it. Just pumped. Week two, the energy kind of wanes a little bit. I'm like, well, I'm going to do most of it. I'm thinking about it, and I share occasionally. But by the time week three comes around, which is where we're rolling into, I'm kind of done. I've moved on to something else, something bigger, brighter, shinier. So that also helps me go to some of the analytics that I found about you, my students. Most of you are scrolling or stopping in my class for someplace between 11 to 20 seconds. Now that's not very much time. I would even be quiet for 20 seconds just to show you what that looks like. Ready? Go. Okay, I'm back. So was that enough time for you to write down all of your transactions, to think about your financial literacy goal, to create a spending plan, and then to also think about the other things in life? I don't think so. So I'm going to ask that you spend a little bit more time in our financial literacy class, tracking your expenses, creating our spending plan. So remember, on this journey, my understanding it takes someplace between 18 to 254 days for something to become a habit, just depending upon who you are. On average, my research is telling me that it is about 66 days. So we got a lot more time together in order to make sure that our tracking of our expenses and creating our spending plan, and then monitoring our actual expenses versus what we plan to spend are in line, and then making the necessary adjustments as we go on. So we've gotten through basically 2 weeks of spending data. Hopefully you created a spending plan that we're on the process of tracking for this week, and we can see, hey, I planned on spending $80 on gas. I spent $77. Yay. We got necessarily a surplus from there. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So for the next 66 days or so, we're going to continue to build this habit of tracking our spending. We're early in this journey. You may have wanted to quit. I'm going to ask you to not quit. I want you to be strong. Be ye strong, therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. That comes from 2 Chronicles 15:7. That's your verse for the day. This is not necessarily a Bible scholar class, but I think that verse really hit home with me as something I was reading this morning, and it's important, right? We really need to continue to do the work. And remember, I call this life work, and we will be rewarded. You're going to be rewarded when you've got a savings account, an emergency fund, and something happens, you can go straight to there, get the cash, and you still have money, and you can kind of continue on with your plan. You don't have to juggle everything out. So we're going to continue to do the work. becoming more financially literate, but also becoming more financially active in our own funds. So if you've been scrolling through, kind of peeking in class, seeing what's going on, we're still here. I'm going to ask you you don't need to go to the office and re-enroll. You just need to come on in, sit down, leave your cell phone or whatever device you're on, iPad, right here. And remember, grab your journal. If you missed some days, that's okay. I actually missed a couple of days myself last week. That's why my goal is to do better. Write it down, stop here, and let's get restarted. I'm going to share this right now as a comment. Someone asked, I kind of messed up on this whole spending plan and writing things down. Can I start again in March? Are you kidding me? It's February the 6th, or 7th actually, so no, you can start today, February the 7th. There's no reason to wait another 2 to 3 weeks, so get your journal, write it down, get back on track. Come back, look at the comments. It looks like there's a whole bunch of folks out here that we're all in the same situation, just trying to do better, trying to help each other, trying to support each other. That's where the accountability piece comes in. Remember, lesson 2 was creating our spending plan. Key words from that spending plan were fixed expenses, food, shelter, insurance, car payments, etc. And then variable expenses. For me, rounds of golf. Maybe for you, it's the Beyonce concert tickets. It's a handbag. It's dinner out. You know, it's just walking through Target and picking up anything that you see that you want to put in your bag because you're just not feeling good about yourself. Can't necessarily do that, but I will tell you that maybe that the Target expense is not necessarily going to help you feel better, and it's definitely not going to help you towards your financial goals, which is my goal and my objective here is to make sure that you become educated on your finances. You guys with me? Slowing down for just a minute. Remember last week we had this little interim lesson where we talked about creating this emergency fund. I got lots of feedback on that. Yeah, so some of you are like, well, I already do that. You know, I got $275, $250 I'm putting in an account every week. Love it, love it, love it. Keep doing it. When you get to your emergency fund, then you're just going to be able to start in savings and investing. Those are going to be things that are outside of the scope of this 101 class. But for those of you that are just struggling to do this, you know, I thought my concept of $1 on the first was good, $2 on the second, $3 on the third. Well, here's the deal. Maybe that's too much for you right now. Don't quit. Do not quit. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. I think Jimmy Valvano said that in North Carolina State basketball years and years and years ago, probably before you guys were born. Anyway, change your plan a little bit if you need to. So maybe it's not $3 on the third day. Maybe it's still only $1 on the third day. So maybe it's only going to be $1 a day for the next 28 days, and you're going to have $28 saved up. But here's the deal. Be discipline. If you do that, imagine at the end of this year you have $300 set aside someplace that you've never had before. It may not sound like a lot, but it's a start. And we'll talk about compounding and interest and all those fun things a little bit later. But for right now, be disciplined. Get yourself an emergency fund. Maybe my plan doesn't work for you. Modify it. But it is so critical that you have those funds set aside so that you don't. Life is going to come your way. There are going to be emergencies. Remember, handbags, I don't know if that's an emergency. Hair being done, not really an emergency in my book, as you can see. But you guys define your own emergency. But be realistic and be true to yourselves in creating this plan. The next area I want to go to is, I'm going to call it just say no. So I shared this comment with my mom years ago, and I said, Mom, you know, no is a complete sentence, something I learned. And so that's what it's going to, you guys need to know this as well. But before you can say no, you might need to educate the folks around you. So for those of you that have, you know, other adults in your life, it's going to be simple, right? You're just going to share with them your spending plan. And when you start sharing with your spending plan and they're asking if you want to go to this restaurant, if you want to go do that, and you're like, hey, it's not in my spending plan, so I got to say no, it's pretty simple, right? However, you don't want to lose connection and you don't want to lose contact with these individuals. So just ask them the question, hey, is this something we can do a week from now, 2 weeks from now, when you can actually put it in your spending plan and you'll be happy to go and enjoy it and feel really, really good about it. So that's not to say to cut off your friends, not to say to cut off your family, it's not to say cut off life and doing things. It's just make sure that you're being conscientious about the money that you spend and where it goes. Easier to do with adults than it is kids. So now I don't know how many of you have children out there, but here's what I will say. If you are anything like me, we want to give our kids absolutely everything, and by giving them everything, we think we're giving them the best. It's a whole different class, but sometimes we need to say no. And it might be hard as it is for me to say no to my children, even as young adults, but here's a way to do that. So I think, first of all, we need to help educate our children, right? So it's the can method. One of my daughters brought this back to me. She said we did this when she was younger, which is basically get 3 cans of varying sizes. They can be a can of green beans emptied, or a jar, or something along those lines. And get yourself, and do this with the children, right? This will kind of be an exercise, be a way for you to connect. But get yourself some construction paper, some labels, decorate the can, have a little fun with it. And we're basically gonna have 3 cans. We're gonna have the giving can, the savings can, and the spending can. That's it. And if you think about, like, what do I do with these cans? Let's just use $1, and it's actually probably easier if you have cash for this exercise with your children. Get $1 and break it up in coins into, 10 cents goes into the giving can, and just drop it in there. 20 cents goes into the savings can, right? So that's 30 cents total. So that should leave 70 cents to go into the spending can. So now, when the kids are asking for things that, as kids will do, I need the latest and the greatest of whatever it is, you can simply say no, right? And they'll understand, well, and so they'll probably come to you and say, well, I guess it's no because we don't have it in the spending can. And you're absolutely right. We will get it in the spending can, and it's no today, it's not no forever. So no is a complete sentence, even with your children, but you got to educate them a little bit, because this might be a new behavior, and they're probably going to be wondering, like, whoa, are we going broke? Why are mom, dad, aunt, uncle, cousin, grandpa, why are they mad at me? Why are they telling me no, right? So that's just another way to do that. You guys with me so far? So just a quick summary. Remember, we're tracking our expenses. We're creating a spending plan. We're monitoring the actual expenses to the spending plan. And I think I may have shared with you a template. If not, somebody let me know, and I'll figure out how to get it out there, and we can share it, that type of thing. Or maybe you have your own. Somebody mentioned going to Google Sheets to have one. Big, broad categories. We talked a little bit about the emergency fund, right? Making sure that whatever you're doing, you're kind of putting some money aside. So emergencies are going to happen: air conditioner, car repair, a trip to visit somebody that may be ill and you need to help take care of them. So do that. We talked about saying no, right? And very, very comfortable no. It's not I don't like you. It's no, I'm on a journey. I'm on a financial journey, and I need to be very conscientious about how I spend my money. So some of the questions that have come up over the last several weeks, questions and comments, and then I'll share with you where I think we should head next for next week, is what are my thoughts on the HYSA? So first of all, cool for using that acronym. And just in case you don't know what an HYSA is, it's a high yield savings account. And it's generally a savings account that earns a little bit more than the one that you may find at your primary bank or financial institution. My comment and feedback and thoughts on that is, if you are in a position to put the money there, they generally come with some limitations on when you can take it out. Absolutely. Let your money make money for you. Whole different class. We're not there yet, but we will get there. But absolutely, if you're in that kind of position, to put your emergency fund there. The next question that came up was like, what's a good emergency fund goal? So, gosh, that's a tough one, but here's what I will share with you. If you've created your spending plan, you'll see a total amount of money that you spend every month. I like to use that as a guide and say, hey, 3 months of that. Should something happen, should you lose your job, should we find ourselves in a devastating situation, that will at least get you through before you have to start doing other drastic measures. So there's no absolute on this. It's different for each and every one of us, but I would use that as a guide. Some of you are saying, whoa, there's no way, and you know what, that I can set that kind of money aside right now. Well, that's okay. That's why we're creating an emergency fund. So at the end of this month, if you have an emergency fund, you have succeeded. I don't care how much is in there. It could be $2, it could be $100, it could be $1,000, right? It's money set aside that you didn't have set aside before. So progress, baby, progress. I love it. The next thing is, can the emergency fund be done with cash? I think I answered that by saying, use this can method. It's great to show our children, but it's also great for ourselves. I don't know about you guys, but I've been having different conversations with my wife now that we've been talking a little bit more about money and finances, and just being very conscientious. When we both said, hey, we had a zero spend day. Not that that was the goal, but just the fact that, we didn't spend money. We knew that we didn't, and so we've got a big spending weekend coming up, and I'll have to share that with you guys next week. Hopefully I can stay within my spending guide. But first, the fact that I have a spending guide is also kind of new for me as well. There was a comment or question like, hey, I messed up. Can I restart in March? The answer to that question is absolutely not. You can restart today, February 7th. Get your journal. Start tracking. It'd be cool if you could actually go back and maybe pick up a couple of days. Create your spending plan. Look at the comments that are out here on the website. There are a whole bunch of folks that are just like you that are doing the very best that they can. So if you messed up, start over. Be accountable. Look at the comments. Let somebody else know that you're doing this. Together we are going to get through this, right? Some ideas that I heard from you, which I thought were good, I'd like to share is the smaller amounts are doable. So once again, we talked a little bit about this. Maybe it's not $3, or today would be the 6, so maybe it's not $6. Maybe you can only do $2, but you're being disciplined, right? I'm trying to hold you guys accountable. And if you're patient, your money will grow. So I'm going to stick with my acronym, DAP: disciplined, accountable, and patient. Someone else says, hey, I don't write my transactions down every day. I generally write them down once a week. Awesome, makes sense, and it works for them. Basically, they're going back to their checking account, their statements, and they're looking like, oh, I spent money at the gas station, I spent money at the grocery store, I put money on childcare. Someone else shared comments like, hey, Thurman, you know what? Generally, day to day, I don't have a lot of expenses, but I do have at the beginning of the month a lot of transactions that I have to write down. You know, my car comes out, my mortgage comes out. That's okay. And maybe when you're creating your spending plan, we'll get to this a little bit later when they become more complex, is that you actually have days of the week, or you have timing, so that you can kind of see how the cash is flowing in and how the cash is flowing out. But those are all I'm going to call a little bit more advanced, but right now we just want to stick with the basics. Some of the comments I thought were hilarious, right? Tracking hurts my feelings. Your feelings don't have feelings? Track your expenses. They'll be okay. Being required to put pen to paper, I'm definitely spending less. If that's your goal, great. My goal is to make sure that you know where your money's going. If you have the money to spend it, you want to spend it, do so. But if you're in a position of deficit, then and you need to quit spending a little bit, then this is working for you. So I love it. I need a budget so bad. No. We don't use the B word in this class. We use the spending plan. So you do need a spending plan. The money's going to come in. It may be a lot, it may be a little. So stop what you're doing right after this class. Create a very, very simple spending plan. Let's not make this thing more complex than it has to be. This is how much money I'm going to spend on these 5 or 6 categories. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be a starting point. And the cool thing is once you do it, then you're going to want the data. You're going to start creating different categories. Hey, I'm going to spend this much on basic childcare, but I'm going to spend this much on childcare when we go out. And when you decide that you're going to go out, you're going to create a spending plan that says, whoa, dinner out is not just dinner out. It's not just going to the restaurant and spending $100. It's the childcare that comes with it. It may be you decide to do something afterward. It may be, so you're going to know all of this, and you're going to be able to make really good financial decisions and really start to enjoy your life. Remember, one of the other goals that we had was to hopefully just alleviate some of the stress and the anxiety and the angst that comes with money and finances and spending. And so when you know where it's going, when you're talking about it, when you're having conversations, I don't know about you, but for me, I start to feel a little bit better just about the subjects that I'm unfamiliar with. Last comment I'll share is somebody said, hey, basically you want me to look in the mirror and see if I'm the problem. No comment. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting me be a part of your world. Remember to stay disciplined, find somebody to hold you accountable, and be patient as your money continues to grow. Next week, I'd like to get into, I don't know if any of you are into debt. If you are into debt, let's talk a little bit about some strategies to get out of debt. The other thing that there's been some feedback on is small businesses. And let's talk a little bit about accounting for small businesses. Until next time, I say it one more time. Be disciplined, accountable, and patient, and thank you for your time.